Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to our presentation. We did a similar presentation to this last year. It must have been so riveting they asked us to come back. I don't know that, but I'm Amy Bliss. I'm the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Recreational Vehicle Dealer Alliance. And this is
Angie Diedrich. I'm the Deputy Executive Director.
Yeah, so Angie's going to get us started here.
All right. Well, if you want to go to the next slide.
Sure.
So we're just going to.
Sorry, Amy, I read that when I came in the room. Is there any Bliss? I didn't see that was your name.
Oh, no. Amy Bliss. Yes, yes.
That is funny. So we just thought we'd start off with a little bit of kind of fun things at the beginning. RV started out approximately around 1910 is where they could see kind of the first RVs. They were custom built, and most of them were custom built either on top of a Model T or to be pulled by a Model T, because that was like the super popular car of the time. So it's kind of fun to see all the different varieties, like the picture on the right here, it's on top of a Model T. I don't know, if you just go to Google, you have a fun time seeing. People just must be having a hoot driving their stuff around. And on the right here, there's like a campground with RVs in it technically. So I thought that was really kind of interesting, and how they had things fold out, and they're nothing compared to today's, which on the next slide you'll see, you have this luxury, nice motorhome now with slide outs. I saw one that on Google from a German company, they even have a slide out at the bottom to put your car under. I mean, it's just like, wow, you could take your home and car anywhere.
I think the RV campgrounds here in Wisconsin are a little bit different than in California. My brother just bought one like this, and his wife was putting pictures on the internet of where they were, and it was amazing. Each campsite had its own swimming pool, its own outdoor patio with a grill and all this fancy stuff, and I'm just thinking, oh my God. And my other sister looked it up, and she's like, it's $7,000 a month to park there. So that's in the Palm Desert area. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think Wisconsin has those kind of glamping communities here. I mean, I know we have some really, really nice campgrounds, but $7,000 a month, I just about gagged. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. In the Midwest, I think we like to talk to each other rather than be secluded too. So we have a lot of fun hanging out. Yeah. A little bit about our RV Dealers Alliance. It's going to be 3 years old next month, so in April. It was basically formed because the RV dealers wanted some legislation. There's not much legislation on the books. There is for motorized, but not for anything that's towable. So they just kind of wanted some protection on their own. And now it's kind of moved into providing training, and also we're trying to build a relationship with Waco so that you guys can all talk on the same page and help each other out to have the consumer have the best experience and get more business, I guess. So it would be the best thing. Here's just a list of our current board of directors right now, and the different dealerships they own. They're just kind of all over the state, which is kind of nice. So we represent a lot of different regions and stuff. So, yeah.
So it seems to me, and I don't know, please feel free to interact here, but the lines seem to be becoming very blurred as to what's what. 28 years ago, I started working for the Wisconsin Housing Alliance, which is the trade association for manufactured and modular housing. So we represent any form of factory-built homes, and that includes manufactured home communities, which, the campground industry and the manufactured housing industry were kind of one and the same at one point. But now with the invention of the camping cabins and the park model RVs and a lot more people are doing the year-round campground rentals, the lines are starting to become blurred as to what's what. And I know there's a ton of confusion out there. Now that tiny homes have, been taking effect, the lines are just being really blurred. And so there was some federal legislation that just got passed through the regulators to help kind of clarify the differences a little bit, in that the park models, it's defined more as recreational versus permanent housing. Now in Wisconsin, I don't think we have as much problem as those lines being blurred as in the southern states, where people actually do live in campgrounds in their RVs. In Wisconsin, that's a little tougher, because I would imagine, I don't know, show of hands, who keeps their campground open year-round with water? Anybody? No. Yeah. And I know the legislation you guys got passed a few years ago that before you could only be open like April 15th to October 15th, is that right? And now it's 180 days? Or?
It just wasn't clear before.
Okay.
So it was kind of interpreted differently by different people. So yeah, it's just 180 continuous days as far as people being in. You can be open longer than that, but you
Okay.
can't necessarily have someone stay continuously for more days than that.
Do people ever try to do that? Yeah. And does the water being shut off stop that? No. I mean, there's a campground up by where my cabin is that people use their campers just as much in the winter as they do the summer, because they're up there in November for deer hunting. They're up there for the snowmobile season, ice fishing season. I don't know what they do for water. I suppose they just bring it in and, yeah.
We do keep a restroom building open in the winter at our campground.
Oh, do you?
So there is like a central location where they can go. They just can't go in their campers' bathrooms.
Yeah. And do all of you have permanent year-round sites? Is that mostly what everybody does now, or?
I would say it's very common to have a mix of
A mix?
seasonal and overnight sites. There are definitely campgrounds that are all one or all the other, but I think mix is the most common.
Okay. Well, the one area I think where the lines do get blurred as far as zoning and building inspectors and people like that is the park models. They think they're manufactured homes, and they're not. They're not built to the HUD code, and they're not meant for permanent year-round habitation. So they're awesome. They're really nice looking. But do many of you have park models in your campgrounds? No? Yeah? They're very nice. They've come a long ways, that's for sure. So I know you do have a dual manufactured home and campground license. Does anybody else have that, where people want a manufactured home in their campground? No. There are quite a few campgrounds that do have manufactured homes in them, but you do have to have a dual license. You have to be licensed for both a manufactured home community and a campground.
Unless you have any two.
Yeah, two, yeah,
And if you have two, then you need the license.
yeah.
What are you referring as manufactured homes now? The park models, or what we're considered the old mobile home, that's 16 by 7 years?
Well, okay, in 1976, the housing code, it's called the Manufactured Housing Construction and Safety Code or something like that. There actually started to be codes and regulations for how manufactured homes were built. And that's when the name changed. So if something was built prior to 1976, it's a mobile home. After 1976, when it was built to the HUD code, it became manufactured homes. So if something was built in 2000, it's a manufactured home. And then in 2007, Wisconsin adopted a really stringent installation code. So manufactured homes really aren't as mobile as they used to be. Yes, they can be moved, but it's very rare that they are moved because they're and very expensive. Yeah, they're permanently affixed to utilities and they're anchored into the ground, and the construction and the installation portion is really not that easy to move them any longer. And then if you really want to talk further into codes, there's modular housing as well, which the modular homes, the difference between manufactured and modular, they can be the exact same home, but it's, HUD, which is a federal program for housing codes, they apply to them for their seal and whatnot. It can go across state lines real easily. The modular homes are built to the individual state building code. So like here in Wisconsin, it's our Uniform Dwelling Code. In Minnesota, it's the IRC code or whatever. So, and modulars, can be anything from a 2-section to Wisconsin Homes up in Marshfield has a 12-section lake estate that's just gorgeous. And manufactured homes can have more than 2 sections as well. They can have dormers. They can be 2-story. It's very rare, but they can be. So
Park models are more built to like an RV code type thing. They're
Yeah.
not built as stringent. They don't have as much wind resistant, snow load, things like that.
And the important number there is 400 square feet. An RV can't be more than 400 square feet. And it's gonna be on wheels.
yeah, yeah. And manufactured home, it's a weird part of the code, but it actually has to stay on a chassis. So that's what makes it hard to have a 2-story, because you're going to have the chassis under every transportable unit. So it's, not as easy as we would like it to be. And I think there's going to be some changes coming down the pike. But on your table, we have some RV statistics and the economic impact of the industry. And these are from 2017. This comes from RVIA. And the direct economic input in Wisconsin from RVs is $228.5 million. And that doesn't include your economic impact. So, I think that's pretty awesome. 542 direct jobs, 37.4 million in direct wages. It says Wisconsin has 4 manufacturing plants. We tried to find 4 and we couldn't. Skyline does manufacture park models, and then Escape, they used to call themselves Escape Homes, now they call themselves Escape.
Traveler.
Yeah.
They build tiny homes, so RVIA kind of throws tiny home builders into their manufacturer data, even though there's no clear regulation on or code that they're built to. So really, for our purpose, we don't count them as a manufacturer of a RV.
Yeah. They kind of got into a little bit of trouble. They build a very, very, very high-end unit, very high-end. And they were building them thinking they were, more like a park model type situation, but they were building them over 400 square feet. And so HUD stepped in and said, you need to build these to the HUD code standard. And they didn't, it's not that easy to become a HUD code factory. So then they just decided, okay, we're doing RVs. So I don't know if you've ever seen them. They are in kind of up by Rice Lake, right?
Yeah.
Just gorgeous, gorgeous.
They have a lot of glass and.
Yes.
I think they came to the Madison RV show at one point, and they were over 400 square feet, and they didn't have the RVA sticker, and I was like, this is beautiful, but also so this isn't legal.
Exactly.
Where, yeah.
Exactly, but they are gorgeous. I mean, they take glamping to a new level.
What's the name of that?
Escape. They used to call themselves Escape Homes, and now it's Escape Manufacturing
Or
or,
Escape Travelers.
oh,
website.
how did that
Yeah,
happen?
there's a nice luxury, like, hideaway place up north there called Canoe Bay, and most of their little cabins out there are those, and it is beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to our input. There it is. Okay. So anyway, we just wanted to break down some statistics for you. Well, now this isn't working. That's precious. We can just go like that. So as far as market share, the industry has been consolidating immensely just in the 3 years that we took over and started the RV Dealers Association. Thor Industries has 48.4% of the market share, Forest River 36.6%, and Grand Design is 4.3%. But now Grand Design and Winnebago are kind of together, but not together. I don't understand all of it, but that's pretty significant. There's basically 3 manufacturers that have any significant share of the market. So as far as the park model sales in Wisconsin, Croft has 80% of Wisconsin's market, and Forest River has 20%. Now it's working again. So the top 5 RV model lines for 2018 was Cherokee from Forest River. Oh, I am, sorry. J Flight, Rockwood, and Hideout from Thor. Is that what you guys are seeing or not? You don't pay attention to what people are utilizing. Now this slide, obviously you guys know all this, the travel trailers, the fifth wheel, the camping trailer, and the park model. What do you see coming in to your campgrounds? What do you see different between your week or weekend rentals versus your year-round rentals? Which would you say?
It's interesting you call it a camping trailer. I think most people call it a pop-up.
Oh, yeah. This is just the technical term that statistical surveys uses for their data.
The industry uses that.
That's interesting to me, because, I mean, camping trailer, that seems extremely non-specific.
Well,
Yeah.
camping trailer means anything that folds down. So like those Rockwell trailers that you see that are hard-sided and they go up looking like a tent, those ones that fold down, that's a camping trailer. So it's basically anything that folds down. So.
Interesting. In general, I feel like the camping RV industry is really bad about using the same terms in all places and being concise. And so that's interesting to me that they
Yeah.
camping trailer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And this is what you'll find, like camping trailers, what's in Wisconsin law too, from the DOT. So they call it a camping trailer, and those are the ones that don't need to be licensed. So, in other words, everything else has to have a license plate from the DOT, so.
Well,
I just know they're getting bigger, everything coming in.
Yes.
is just bigger.
and are your sites able to hold that size increase?
Some places, of course, yeah. You know, I'm sure everybody has different size sites. for different
Yeah.
events.
Do you see like the size of RVs getting bigger compared to what you're able to keep up with, and if you have to change your site size and layout, is it just harder to keep up with the pace of what people are buying and what the manufacturers are putting out? I guess.
We're having to upgrade electric because
Yes.
everything's coming in with 50 amp, and when our campground was built for a little standard plug and 30 amp.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that a little bit later as far as the dealer's wish list, which we kind of talked about last year as well. But yeah, that's definitely something. That's something the manufactured housing industry is going through as well, as these homes are aging that were built in the late 60s, early 70s that were, maybe 12 by 50, And now people want a 16 by 80 or a multi-section home. They're having to combine two sites and, you know, rearrange things to make it work. Otherwise, the setbacks are just too close. And I'm sure in your industry, people don't want to be right on top of each other. If one place wants to party and stay by the campfire till 2 in the morning, and the other place has little kids and wants to get to bed. So that, I'm sure, can be.
But anyway, these are the names for the next section of the next few slides when we talk about statistics. This is what we mean, so.
So the travel trailers, there were 7,519 units sold last year. These numbers astound me. I don't know if it's new people getting into the market or people upgrading, but that's a lot of manufacturing.
I might represent some of that. We just bought a park this year from Texas since I was 14, originally from Pennsylvania. But as we came in and painted and fixed this year, I would say probably 20% of our folks are starting to get new units.
Really?
I'm not saying we did it, but you know.
No, but what area of the state are you in?
We're on the east side of Lake Winnebago.
Okay.
Which is kind of, they actually call it the quiet side of the lake. So
Yeah.
we realize we're not in competition with Oshkosh and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else. But when we looked at the park, and yes, we looked all over the country, I know people here are very shocked that things are changing, but, our demographic too, it's our third chapter in life. We're still moving. We wanted a retirement plan that we could enjoy, and I'd always wanted an RV park. So, there's a lot of Wisconsin and Texas. That's why the heck we're up here.
Yep.
Yep. You guys have 4 seasons. In Texas, it's 2. It's hot and hotter.
Yeah.
But no, we've had practice answering these questions. So, but just to encourage you, it's not all bad. It's changing. But
Yeah.
I think it allows people to realize, they can go to the next level. Now, there is a gap. I know numbers too, and for the older folks who don't want to change, they think that they're lightweight, and cheap, and they're not those strong metal trailers. And so I hear both sides of that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the industry, seems to be doing well. I know they had a slump when the economy was bad, which who didn't have a slump back then? But yeah, so, altogether, 9,515 units sold in Wisconsin. That's a significant number. I can see why the economic impact is so large. The camping trailer, that number has significantly lowered than in the past, and I think I've got a slide about that coming up here. So there was, 300 and some more units sold this year than last year, so a 3.7 overall increase, which isn't dramatic, but it's good. Now this year, the economic experts are predicting a little bit of a decline or just status quo. They're not expecting any big number increases. Although Angie has been doing the tour of RV shows, and I've went to a couple as well, and there's a lot of people there. We went to one in Milwaukee on a Thursday afternoon, and I thought it would be dead. I thought people are working, nobody's going to be here. We were in a line out the door. Luckily, one of our dealers had some exhibitor passes that they brought us out so we could skip the line. But I'm like, I guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
It was mostly older people, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was just surprising to see how many compared to other shows we've been to, but this one just, I think because it's getting closer, it was just like a week ago, so it's getting closer to spring and
Yeah.
people are getting excited.
And now that there's a thaw, I'm guessing there'll be a lot more interest. For a while there, it was like, oh my God, you got snow piles up to here. Who can think about camping? But you'll see here the only segment that increased was the travel trailer. The fifth wheels are way down. The camping trailers are way, way down. And park models are down, which that kind of surprised me because I would think more people would, that now that there's more permanent sites offered, I would think that that number would increase. I know, like near the Dells, there's a lot of park model condo ownership things. And I know that's real popular for snowbirds. My sister had a place in Palm Springs, and then when it was hot, they would come and they had a park model condo in the Dells. And it was really nice, you know. They had a big screened-in porch that people could sleep on if they had guests. And so anyway, I was kind of surprised that that number was down, but obviously the travel trailer is big.
So motorized data, these are just like the different types of motorized. I don't know if you guys know the different classes. So basically, the only difference between a Class B and a Class A is gonna be your huge motorhome, but a Class B and a Class C, the difference is just what kind of shell they're built on. Other words, a Class C can actually be larger, most of the time is larger than a Class B one, but you can go to the next slide. We don't deal with the motorized because they're actually under the Wisconsin
Auto and truck dealers.
Just because of how code got split not that long ago. But yeah, we were lucky enough, our statistical surveys gave us some lovely numbers. So you can see those motorized are on the rise from 2014 to 2018, just how much of an increase that people are buying those.
Yeah, it practically doubled. The total numbers
Yeah.
practically doubled.
And it's very interesting because Scott from Statistical Survey, he said, you hear a lot about people, you know, the millennials are getting in there, but he's like, statistics aren't showing that. It's still, the people who are buying them are the people who are retiring or getting close to retiring, they want to travel and stuff. And that's usually who ends up buying this kind of vehicle. Although I did have at one RV show, one of our board of directors, he had sold a $240,000 large motorhome to a millennial couple because they were going to work out of their motorhome and that was going to be their primary house and they were going to travel. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. It had a washer, dryer, almost a full-size tub. I was like, geez, this is nice. But
Yeah, I think more people are considering that kind of lifestyle nowadays. I do think the younger generation, you know, like I have a 30-year-old son, and you know, when I was growing up, it was always like, get a house, get a house, get a house. It's the best investment you'll ever make. Well, all he saw in his real formative late teens and early 20s was the housing market going like this. Not that good of an investment. You know, him and his fiance, he probably paid more for his bass boat than I paid for my house back in the early 80s, you know? And it's just not that important to them. They would rather, you know, be able to go to Nashville if they feel like it, or they lived in Dallas for a while. And they both have great jobs, and their jobs are pretty flexible wherever they go. And, you know, the lifestyle is just a little different, and their perception of owning the big house with 3-car garage and a master suite isn't the same as what, you know, 40 to 70-year-olds is. So it's definitely changing. But yeah, the statistics are not showing demographic changes
yeah,
that
they're probably
rapidly.
still paying off their student loans yet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
afterwards, they will maybe buy that.
I was gonna say millennials can maybe afford a camping trailer.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
If they're lucky.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not surprising. I've seen a lot of statistics that they're taking up a bigger market in camping.
Yes.
As opposed to the tent.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a zero entry, but I'm not surprised in RV sales that you're not really seeing.
Yeah.
And especially because the economy has been so different for millennials.
Yeah.
I think another part of the housing is down payment.
Yeah.
You know, I will talk to people in the generation above, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got enough money from my wedding presents to do a down payment on a house," and I'm just like, "How is that possible?" That is not the world that millennials.
No.
Who did you
No.
invite?
Yeah. I want them on my list. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
The next slide is these are just trends that dealers are seeing when we talk to them. So it's just what their customers are telling them. A lot of people are looking into solar panels because they don't want generators and stuff running all the time when they're using a lot of electricity because they've got, 15 devices plugged in all at the same time, plus trying to use the microwave and a hair dryer and all that. So they're kind of looking at that. The technology's still kind of expensive for that kind of thing yet, especially to be able to run a good amount of electricity. There's not much roofing on an RV to have that much solar panel. The other one is they want to stay connected, better Wi-Fi, things like that. Campgrounds, just reading up on different things, campgrounds can provide Wi-Fi all they want, but the structure and the material that an RV is built out of, it scrambles signals, it deadens your signal. So there's a lot of technology coming out there with Wi-Fi boosters and cell boosters and things like that they can buy and put on to kind of help themselves. So especially if they're traveling and want to use their cell signal as their Wi-Fi connection. But then that comes to what you guys were talking about, more power. They want upgraded plugins to go in so they can plug everyone's phone in, the computer, run the hairdryer, the microwave, the oven, the TVs.
Oh, don't forget the smart TVs that are this big. I couldn't believe it. It's like, wow, you're out there to go camping and to be out in the wilderness and you got a TV that's bigger than in my living room.
Sound throughout the RV in there. You can hear the TV everywhere.
Do they have statistics for what a 5-year trend would be on power consumption? So as campground owners, we can project at least what the desire is. Is it 100 amp? Is that where, do they have a projection for 5 years?
No, I haven't seen anything, and that would be something RVIA would do. It just depends on what the manufacturers are willing to do, and it's also what the market is willing to purchase.
And we can kind of try to dig into that more for you for sure.
Yeah.
I know that the dealers told us on their wish list 50 amp. I've got that somewhere. Yeah, 50 amp minimum electric service, and that's what they said, minimum. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't.
On the electric, I don't know how much interaction we have amongst the RV dealerships and/or the educators to the consumer. Somebody needs to really educate these consumers.
Yes.
We finally printed a list saying your average blow dryer takes X amount of amps. Your, electric skillet, your toaster. These people in the morning, it's just steady with calls. We can pop a breaker. Okay, what do you don't have for? Oh, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Something to dry my hair and back.
Pancakes on the grill, and the teenagers in the bathroom blowing dry your hair. Their microwaves frozen waffles.
Well, the other thing I noticed is there's a lot of electric fireplaces in the RVs that we were seeing down in Milwaukee. And I know I have a sewing room because I do a lot of quilting, and I can't have my iron and this electric heater that I have on the wall plugged in at the same time, or I blow a breaker. And I'm thinking that would be a real energy sucker, those electric heaters, the fireplaces.
Automatically point fingers at us, so it's very time consuming to go out there with our meters and prove to them at the box.
You got the amperage you need, yeah. What do you provide generally? What generally is the amps?
50, 30.
Yeah, those would be the options.
Yeah, and they know that coming in to the camp, like when they make their reservations,
Right.
or,
Yeah, like I can tell you every single site, how many amps each site has.
wow. And it's expensive to upgrade, I'm sure, right?
Are they blowing 50 amp breakers?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Washers, dryers.
air conditioning
Put
units,
air conditioners in their unit, and that is really rough.
We
Yeah.
have customers come in and have floor top. We can't support that, unless we're gonna go to this 100.
yeah.
But, they just need to be educated, and it's frustrating, it's really time consuming on our part.
we can definitely take that back to the dealers. There are about 70 locations of dealers. Some are owned by multiple entities. And how many is it, 56 that are members of ours?
Well,
Or-
there's 93 right now in the state of dealers that have sold at least one RV this past year. And we have over 50 of those locations as members. And
So we can educate them. And we did have a panel of campground owners that came to the RV annual meeting in December to talk that stuff through. Of course, the ones that are at the meeting are probably not the ones that need to be talked to, because they're there to be educated and to keep up on things and to have that dialogue. Other ones, because all of the ones that were there say, oh, we do that, we spend hours with them going through things. And, there's a lot of stuff to know about an RV. I mean, just going in and looking at it, you can tell it's pretty complicated, like, especially with all the slide outs and, different things like that. And so.
one of them you open, there's like an electrical panel of buttons about this big in a cupboard, and it's like, oh yeah, that does everything. You make things go up and down. I'm like, whoa.
I assume that we're not gonna be able to control what the consumer wants, right? The consumer's gonna control what we have to do with our campground.
Yeah.
The consumer's
Yes.
saying,
And that's what
we're
the
gonna pay the extra
manufacturer's gonna
$100,000 for that device that can use 100 amps. Well, by God, we gotta provide them 100 amps if we want their money.
Right.
So
Right.
That's what I'm asking. Tell us, what do we need to do with our campground so we can provide the right service to our customers? Like if we upgrade to, we go through and we upgrade to 50, 30, 20 because we don't have 50, 30, 20. And then next
Yeah.
year, all the
Yeah.
customers are coming saying, what do you do? We need 100. Well,
Yeah.
We just drop whatever amount of money
Yeah.
and we flush it down the toilet. We
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
And that's one nice thing, in Governor Evers' budget, there's something called the Outdoor Recreational Roundtable, and there's a national version of this, and they just basically got the federal government to recognize how much of an impact that the outdoor recreation industry puts money into the gross domestic product. And so Governor Evers has in his budget money for a Wisconsin version, and then this is perfect. This is where everyone can talk together and work things out and get those things going. So things are starting to happen, which would be fabulous, because then everyone can sit down and talk together and figure out a game plan. And also sometimes, manufacturers kind of sometimes jump ahead, and then that's what people are buying, where it'd be great sometimes to tell a manufacturer, slow down a little bit here.
Yeah.
Let us catch up.
Yeah.
Because
They're in it to make money too, and if they
Yeah.
got customers give me an extra $100,000 because it's got 100 amps, well, by
Yeah.
God, they're gonna sell it. Right?
Yeah.
So if I own the marketing, or if I was the manager of that place, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Even national parks can't keep up. They're so far behind than anything that now with the ORR, they're starting to recognize, and now money's starting to be put into there, because most of the sites in the national park do not have electricity at all, or water, and it's,
Yeah. Well,
or roads.
part of this outdoor recreation roundtable thing too, we had advocated it under Governor Walker's, but he wasn't going to spend any more money. So it will be a dedicated position in the Department of Tourism if we get it passed. Now, as you know, if you've heard any news, the Republican-controlled Assembly and Senate aren't real keen on Governor Evers' budget. So we'll see what happens, but the goal is promotion of outdoor recreation of all kinds in Wisconsin. Camping, fishing, ATVing, snowmobiling, boating. Wisconsin has some beautiful resources, but we don't promote them very well. So hopefully, with some of this promotion, we'll all see a benefit from it. And it'll give us a chance to work together, because the whole outdoor industry hasn't been real cohesive, especially at the state level. We're looking into some legislation for the dealers, because they don't really have a lot of protections as far as their brand. If they sell a certain brand and a bigger entity comes in, the manufacturer can just, okay, well, we're going to give it to these people because they sell more or whatever. And so we're looking into some legislation for that. And the auto dealers had been working on something very similar with warranty reimbursements. And so I called like an ATV dealership. Do you have an association? No. I called around with boat people. No. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that we all want that would be similar, just like the campgrounds and manufactured home communities. I'm sure there are efforts that we could work on together, like discriminatory zoning and things like that. I just happened, this is kind of off the subject, but I happened to be at a Adams County board meeting one day because they were making some stupid zoning thing that would have affected manufactured housing. And there were people at that meeting trying to get a campground zoned. And it was really interesting because I felt so sorry for the people. They were the nicest people, and they were really excited about building this campground, you know, from the start. And, you know, of course, the neighboring people, oh, they'll come onto my property, and there'll be noise, and there'll be this, and there'll be that. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know, these are the battles we've fought all along. It was really nice, though. It ended up getting passed through. And I was really excited for the people because, you know, they had all these plans in place to protect any of the neighbors. But it was kind of interesting to watch. You know, that wasn't the issue I was there for, but it was kind of interesting. What are you guys seeing as far as anybody expanding or putting in new campgrounds? Is it difficult, I would assume?
Especially depending on where you're located. Some counties and municipalities are more friendly than others. There are particular areas of the state that are really rough. Like, for example, a few years back, Wapaka passed a whole bunch of zoning that was horrible. And because there was like a zoning administrator who hated campgrounds and thought they did terrible things. And so this got passed through, and the campgrounds in like July, when everybody's super busy, and they didn't even hear that there was going to be like an open hearing until it was already through, and then, you know, having to deal with all of that. And I know Oneida County has a lot of tough struggles as well.
Oh.
Especially like they can't have anything besides a camper. They can't have a deck. They can't have a porch. They can't.
In Oneida County?
In some, yeah.
Oh,
in
wow.
certain places, they can't have anything attached at all. Which is very common in the camping experience to want to have a deck. You know?
Yeah.
And
Especially if it's permanent site, yeah.
Right. So it really depends on where you are, but it's not easy. I mean, we have a really good relationship with our local zoning and with our town board and all those sorts of things. But still, for any kind of expansion, you have to get a variance to build sites at all. You know, you have to get a special exception permit and stuff like that. You can't just do it, even if it's zoned recreational. You can't build without that extra step. So it's a lot of work for sure.
Yeah. I imagine the municipality, they like the revenue that it brings to the municipality, but they don't necessarily, yeah.
You know, and nobody wants more people or more business, you know, because they want their little quiet place.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
Is most of the struggle on a county level or on a township level, or is
it varies.
It's dependent upon the township?
Yeah.
I mean, so your town board can have a lot of control and a lot of input on what happens to you, but also so can the county, and I mean, zoning is a county level. So I would say it's very important to have a really good relationship
Yes.
with both, and to show up and to pay attention to what's happening. If they know you and they know your reputation, you spend a lot of time with them. Mark Hazelbaker, who's the lawyer that Waco employs, he has a lot of good things to say about it. And he always says, if you're not at the table, you're on the table.
That's good.
It's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true. And if they know you and you have a good rep with them, it makes such a difference. You'll hear stories all the time, you know, personality clashes with the town board and the owners. And once that starts, it just grows
Yeah.
and grows and grows and snowballs, and it's trouble. So, you know, be the first person to donate, to volunteer, to show up and do things.
That was going to be my very next thing out of my mouth. Yeah, when the firefighters have a fundraiser, donate a big screen TV. When the police have a fundraiser to get a drug sniffing dog, be the first to donate. Go to, you know, all of those things. And that's how you establish a relationship with the community.
And even going to the meetings, nobody goes to the meetings. You know, even if they're not discussing something that directly relates to you, just showing up a couple of times a year, you know, and having input at all. And a lot of times they have no idea what a campground really is. I mean, sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't.
Yeah.
Or, like if you're involved through local chambers, for us, for example, we are maybe about 2/3 seasonal, 1/3 overnight between all of our properties. And so many of our seasonals, they go into the local businesses to eat at the restaurants. They do, you know, go into the boutiques and the shopping. And people have no idea how much my business is contributing to their business until I tell them.
Yeah.
Until I go to their place of business and I say, hey, do you realize that 3 of these tables are people who camp with me? You know?
Yeah.
And to inform people so that they know. Mhm.
Especially the permanent campsites. I know I have a cabin up north in Oneida County, and the people who are in the campground, they have 100%, you know, year-round or whatever, and they're part of the community.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knows them. They know everybody. They're really part of the community, just as if they owned a house in the area. So,
But folks might not know they're staying in the campground. In fact, a lot of times they might say, I have a cabin up here. What they really mean is,
oh,
I have an RV or a park model in a campground.
well, and there's nothing wrong with that, that's for sure.
But I'm just saying, like, sometimes I wish I could put like a sticker on my customers.
Yeah.
When they go out.
Can you wear this in town? You know, you could do that. Why not? Have an awareness weekend or.
We talked about giving them like a discount card, like if we worked with the businesses.
Oh.
Being like, if they stay at like your campground, they get the special card that you get in the business, they get a discount. And then all of a sudden everyone would see, oh wow, look at
Wow.
all these people that this campground are bringing our kids.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I like it.
I think it's a great idea, but you gotta get the buy-in.
Well, right, that's the thing, is organizing it. And I'm kind of looking in between 2 communities. One of them I could probably make it swing, the other one is too disorganized for it to ever work, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like it. One other trend I wanted to talk about. Did you have something first?
that's what I was
Okay. Are you guys seeing any of the like VRBO type things with outdoorsy? And I know some of them are just, I own an RV, I'm going to let you use it for the week and you're going to pay me. But I was wondering if, you know, if someone has a permanent site and they're not going to be there a few weeks in July or a week in July, a week in August, do they ever rent them out to someone else?
So we specifically prohibit that in our contract.
So you do have a contract, a written contract. Good for you. I'm glad to hear that. Does everybody?
And
Good
we
deal.
have one that's vetted by Mark Hazelbaker.
Excellent. He's a great lawyer.
Mhm,
Yeah.
He wrote an updated seasonal contract that a lot of campgrounds use, not everybody does, but, or a version of.
Yeah. And so you have your rules and regulations. And one thing we see in the manufactured home communities is huge problems with dogs. Do you guys have problems with dogs? Because I imagine emotional support animals.
Being a dangerous breed.
Is that a problem in your campground? Not yet? No?
So I personally don't have problems with the therapy, emotional support, but it's a complaint you will hear from owners all the time. People bring it up in class all the time that it's an issue, especially people bringing their animals into food service areas.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Somebody was just talking about how they have someone who says it's a therapy dog, she comes into their bar and she wants to set the dog on the bar.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Law does prohibit that. If there are service animals servicing like somebody who can't open a door, like a physical disability, that service animal can be in there. And that has to be a dog that's trained, or in some rare cases, a miniature horse, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'd like to see someone ride one in, funny.
I don't think
but-
they ride them.
I know, but it's hilarious. But an emotional support animal, they're not allowed in any food service areas. They have
Yeah,
no
you
special
don't have
treatment.
to allow them.
Yeah.
And, you know, like the disability rights people, they're even conflicted within their own issues because a true service animal is trained to be very submissive. You know, they could be sitting under this table and you could have a steak on the table and it would not come near it unless it was told to do so. And some of these emotional support animals, they have no training whatsoever, and they're usually quite nasty. And they have been, you know, there have been issues where they've attacked real service animals. So there's a lot of, or people, yeah. We had a situation in a manufactured home community where they had an emotional support pit bull, and it attacked a 2-year-old neighbor girl in the face. And she had to have stitches. Oh, was it in the car?
Yeah, I think that's the one where like she was in the car seat and the person could not keep control of it and it lunged in and just.
Yeah.
Just recently at an airport, what was that, in Oregon or somewhere? That
Yeah.
airport one you sent, someone had an emotional
Oh,
support.
yeah, that was
one,
it, too.
and it bit a girl in the face, in the, like the main area.
Yeah, it was pretty bad too. Her face was bad.
I know Wisconsin law, we have some nice new regulation that just got passed last year. So we have a verification form. You can, we actually have 2 forms. A form to request a reasonable accommodation under ADA regulation. And you don't have to ask them what their disability is, but they have to answer basically 3 questions and they request it. And then the flip side is there's a verification form, and you could verify from their actual doctor, and the doctor has to sign off on this form.
And
that you know, that yeah, they have a disability that they need an animal for, and it actually states on there, you know, that you will be charged with a minimum of a $500 fine for falsifying it, either the doctor or the person. And we always tell our people with this form, this verification form, always go back and call the doctor or have it sent from them. Never have the person hand it to you because there's so many of
How
them.
new is that? Because we were always told we couldn't ask them for any paperwork.
Yeah, you can. We just got it passed like in December. And what was happening is so many people would go on the internet and they'd pay sometimes $65. Sometimes it was a lot, but all they had to do was type in some information and boom, it printed out a little certificate that it was, you know, and they were totally fake. I mean, I had one person send to their landlord a form from a marriage counselor out in California saying that he needed a service animal. And most of our communities allow dogs, and I'm sure you guys allow dogs because the reason people want to camp is because they can take their dog. I'm a dog lover. I just got a puppy and I love her. But the problem usually is the dangerous breed dogs, you know, if it's aggressive, or even the little yappy ones, you know. So you're not supposed to ask about the disability, but like if you had a no dog policy, you could use that interactive process to find out if it was really medically necessary or if they just want to have their dog. I mean, all dogs are emotional support. I mean, that's why we have them, you know.
We were always told we could ask 2 questions.
Yeah, are you disabled and what, that this service,
But that's changed.
a little bit. I mean,
This would be maybe something for seasonals. It wouldn't help for a weekend, you know, traffic.
Right.
Because that's a long process, but maybe that'd be a resource that you could get to Lori.
Yeah.
That we might want to utilize if the seasonals want to bring the animals into locations.
Into-
that they
yes.
shouldn't be bringing them.
Yes.
In the campground itself, it wouldn't matter.
Right.
Probably, unless, again, it's a breed thing, but, in the, let's say, the food service areas.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be a resource that you
Yeah.
could give to
And
them.
also to have them, that's another thing, if you have an emotional support animal, it has to be, the person who the animal is for has to have that animal under their control,
Not like
someone
their
else.
kid or,
Yeah, kind of thing, so,
Yeah.
That's been a big issue too with different things, but this verification form has weeded out quite a few people, and some
Yeah.
people won't even fill it out, you know, because they know they're not gonna qualify. But it also has to be, they have to be prescribed, like a prescription from a Wisconsin licensed
licensed,
doctor.
yeah.
Also, that doctor has to be, it has to be a field, like their dentist can't do it, or their
Marriage
gynecologist can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it has to be somebody who, you know, would go about their mental well-being kind of thing, so.
Yeah, and it could be a therapist, a licensed therapist,
Licensed
doesn't have to be a
therapist or
doctor,
counselor,
but
yeah.
anyway, I just wanted to bring that up just because I thought maybe you had issues. I mean, and even if it is a service animal, they still have to keep it under control, it can't cause noise, they have to pick up the poop. You know, so just like any other, you know, reasonable situations, they have to have rabies shots, that kind of thing. So we had started,
Next slide.
oh, okay, we had started talking about the VRBO kind of thing, but you said it hasn't come up yet, and you disallow it via contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's been brought up that this is the thing that outdoorsy exists and those
Yeah.
sorts of things. I don't think most campgrounds allow it. I think maybe some probably do. Our situation is we've never allowed any kind of subletting or anything like that, and that's always been specifically prohibited, including this sort of model.
Is that pretty much what you all do as well? How about if it's like the 17-year-old of the person you have the contract with? Any problems with that?
21, we have that, you know, you cannot be in the trailer alone without another family member.
Okay,
Whoever's listed on the contract.
Yep, and yeah, there has to be someone who is on the contract present anytime the trailer is in use. So you can have guests,
yes,
but you can't just lend it.
okay.
We allow 2 families on the contract. So
Oh,
if
so-
I wanted to have my sister or my parents,
Yeah,
but that's the only other person who can use it without me being present.
I'm glad to hear that. You have good contracts and stuff. So, let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, yeah, did we do that?
Well, kind
No. There we go. Yeah,
So yeah, they're just looking for, well, obviously, we talked about this, the campers, you know, the RVs are getting bigger, it's hard to keep up with the sites, the ampage, things like that. Manufacturers just kind of keep wanting to build them bigger and bigger, I suppose, because people want them more like their home kind of thing and feel comfortable and not cramped.
I may have missed this, but are there
Okay.
larger than 50 amps that are people are requesting right now?
Not yet, so,
That's good.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's coming. No, we just talked about, yeah, they,
When they run the toaster, they don't need the hair dryer all at the same time, you
We're
know.
putting in some new, and I think we are putting a few in at 100.
Oh,
That's
wow.
good.
Yeah.
It can work in a pedestal that way, so instead of 50 or 30, you can read it on the internet when you just look it up. It's like maybe it's Florida, but they would rather just put the 250s in rather than the 50-30.
oh, that's
Oh, yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, the other one would be, they're just seeing a lot of people who want to do weekend camping or travel around kind of camping, and we know there's kind of like a shortage of those sites. I think there's just seems to be more campers, more people who are getting into camping now than there is availability of places to go, kind of thing.
I don't know Wisconsin specifically. I was reading an article about this though nationwide, and the National Association of Campgrounds is sort of like, is there really that shortage of weekly sites? I mean, yes, on the holidays, but the rest of the time you probably could find somewhere. I think one thing that's changed in the camping industry is it used to be that you could just call it the day of, or you could just leave the day of. and now you have to reserve.
Yeah.
And I feel like reservations go earlier and earlier and earlier. I know
Yeah.
everybody has different policies on when they take reservations, but I do find, like my holiday weekends, maybe I used to be full a couple of months ahead of time, and every year it's kind of moving a month earlier that
Yeah.
I'm filling,
Yeah.
because everybody's calling earlier and earlier. So
Yeah.
I find there's as much of a shortage as the perception really is.
Well, and I kind of think what the dealers are seeing is those people who are buying those bigger RV models, there's not as many sites out there for them to go and just find a weekend kind of thing. And that's where, hopefully the millennials can come in and do their tents and all
Right.
that kind of
I
stuff.
think
but-
people used to wait for the weather forecast and then decide.
Yeah.
where they're going.
Yeah, that
You
doesn't
can't do
work
that.
anymore.
Right,
No.
right.
One little thing that just shocked me when I first started learning more about this whole RV world is that a dealer that sells like those big, huge motorhomes, they have to have a CDL to drive that. But a 75-year-old that's never driven anything bigger than a minivan can get in and go all over the world with it. I bet you guys have parking nightmares. I cannot imagine, because I know myself, I am the world's worst backer upper. I don't give in to anything, but I finally had to give in to that I suck at it. My husband grew up in a dairy farm, and so he drove hay wagons when he was 8 years old. So he can back up with this much room on both sides. And I was bound and determined he was going to teach me because I got a jet ski. And I had to throw in the towel and say, this is one thing I cannot do. So the thought of backing up these units and getting them right where they're supposed to be, do you guys have people on staff that will just do it for them just to save your pedestals and your infrastructure?
We won't drive it, but we'll direct them.
Oh.
And we do park we offer to, if they let us, we will take them to their site and help direct them onto the site of every single customer.
I'm glad to hear there's assistance with that.
Yeah.
Um,
And the last thing though is the RV dealers really do, I mean, they've expressed this many times, they really do want to work with you guys, the campground owners and stuff, because they know the two industries are linked together so much, and if one kind of fails, then the other one kind of fails, and so, I mean, it's really wanting to build both up, and at least the dealers who are our members, they really do want to hear input from you guys and to see what they can do, and
Yeah, and anytime you think of something that the dealers need to know, we do a quarterly newsletter for them. So if you guys even want to do like a page of opinion or, something to make recommendations, we're happy to take that. I mean, we're new and we're still finding our way. One thing I did want to mention too is that, they have a political agenda, and one of their deals and the Wisconsin Housing Alliance deals is repealing the personal property tax. Did you guys get a reduction in your personal property tax bill as a business owner last year? Pardon?
It looked like it, but I'm there. Yeah, it looked like a little.
Well,
But I don't know if that's what it felt.
so what we did during the last budget cycle, and it took effect for 2018, was you pay a personal property tax on all the furniture in your eating spots. You pay a personal property tax on everything you own as a business owner, no matter how old it is. It never goes off that personal property tax schedule. During the last budget cycle, we were going for full repeal, but during the budget process, it got debated down to they would exempt machinery and equipment, machinery, tools, and equipment. So like if you have refrigerators, anything that plugs in or runs on a gas motor, you should not have to pay personal property tax on any longer. So I don't know if you use accountants or if you do the work yourself, but it should have significantly reduced your personal property tax bill. And if it didn't, you might want to look at that to make sure that you have that stuff classified correctly. and that you did not pay personal property tax on it. This year, we're going for full repeal, and there's 51 organizations working on it, people as little as us and people as large as AT&T and WMC, the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce. So it's a big conglomerate of people. And we should probably put your name on it too, because nobody likes to pay personal property tax. It's the most antiquated tax on earth. I'm still paying tax on a desk that predates my employment with Wisconsin Housing Alliance. It's 28 years old. I'm still paying a tax on that desk every year.
And if somebody donates something to you, or there was the guy you were telling me about who someone had, put some filing cabinets out to the side of the road, and he cleaned them up and repainted them and put them in his office. Now all of a sudden he had to pay tax on those filing cabinets.
Yeah, which were zero value. So I'll talk to Lori about it and maybe see if you guys, yeah, we're done anyway, pretty much. So anyway,
Yeah, personal property tax fight that has been going on that's affected us in some other areas is they're charging us personal property tax if we as campgrounds own park models that we rent.
yeah,
And RVs
are
are
exempt.
and it says
Yeah.
it, but they train the assessors to assess it.
Yes,
And so
Yes.
that's been really frustrating, and we've been having all these fights with our assessor about it, and he's all like, well, we told you I have to assess it. And I'm like, no, but the code says you can't.
I know,
And they don't
I
care.
know, they don't care. And the Department of Revenue will not step in to protect you, I guarantee that.
No, we
Yeah.
spent time fighting it, and they're like, you just have to pay it.
Yep. So anyway, that's something we're working on that you guys should have an interest in. And if we're successful, and I think we will be, you can thank us when your bill goes way down. But that's all I have for you guys. Do you have any questions or any other topics of discussion? Or
I have one thing
Okay.
as far as a wish list for RV dealers. A lot of times there's issues with communication when they're bringing units in, and they are, here, take some tickets. When they're dropping off the unit at the campground for like a seasonal, let's say. Because, frequently when they're doing a seasonal, the customer can't transport it themselves, so a lot of times they'll have the dealership drop it at the campground. Sometimes things just show up magically on a Friday afternoon when you really don't need that. And I don't know if it's the customer who's failing or the dealer, but the moral of the story is the dealer knows where that is going. I think that the dealer should just have a policy of always calling the campground and not relying on that customer to bridge the gap, because we don't always know where it's coming from. But they
Yeah.
know where it's going, so if they can call us.
and that is one thing that the panel did bring up.
And that was in our last newsletter. We put in the panel, and that was one thing they did say is about that, and also encouraging the customers to, you don't have to bring it in on a Friday or a Saturday. Wait till a Sunday, a Sunday, and sometimes, making it be like, hey, when you have to go sign your mortgage papers, the office isn't gonna be like, oh, yeah, come in when it's convenient. No, they're gonna be like, these are the hours, and kind of being a little more strict with customers and saying, no, we can deliver it from this time to this time.
Yeah.
Have if you're switching out, have your other RV emptied and ready to go, so we can pull in, pull out, we're done.
Yeah, that was a big discussion at our last meeting. So it was really nice to have the panel of campground owners at that event.
That is a frustration too, when they get there and they say, well, they told us to come there
And
and
then
the
the
campground
driveway
is
is clogged with
Yeah,
14 people checking in. Yeah, I mean,
and they
that's
don't
kind
want
of.
to be there because then their tech is taking time.
I think it was mutually agreed upon as far as, not on the weekend, that the weekend was terrible for you and also for them. They didn't really like that either. One last thing I wanted to do is just recommend that you go to the RV Manufactured Housing Hall of Fame in Elkhart, Indiana. Cutest place if you're really into RVs. These are just some of the pictures of some of the units. It's built like a little road, and it has Mae West's camping trailer that she used to use. The lights aren't real good in here, but cutest stuff that shows the evolution of the industry. So I highly recommend taking a road trip to Elkhart, Indiana, having a beer at the Chubby Trout, and believe it or not, sushi, and going to the RVMH Hall of Fame and museum. The museum is pretty awesome, so
Yeah, they have a huge library too, of old, just really old stuff there too.
it's kind of fun to look at the history.
Yeah,
Anyway, thanks for coming.
yeah. And if you guys reach out to us. If you
Yeah,
have anything.
yeah.
I left some business cards in the back, but yeah, if you have any ideas or anything, we're very open and definitely want to hear.
Hopefully we'll have some,
Well, most industries are not very interested in sharing R&D type of it, right? Because they keep their R&D very close to the vest because it's proprietary and they don't know what their
Right,
secrets
right.
out. I don't know if that's the way the manufacturing of RVs industry also runs, but that would be my request is anytime they have something that is coming out, they can just give us
Yeah, yeah.
any form of that.
yeah.
Well, it'll be
Help us
interesting.
accommodate that
Yeah.
customer.
Well, they just had their RVX, which is their new RV experience show. So that was gonna show kind of like the new stuff. So once we get the report back from that, we'll kind of see the new trends where manufacturers are going, so.
Help us provide better service
Yeah.
for our customers.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
We do